So, Joe, did you know that voting never ends in the United States?
Oh, you talking about the Jaguars?
I was talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame, but the Jaguars are also equally up there.
Yeah, we don't care about the Jaguars.
No one cares about the
No, because it's
Jaguars.
about the
Not
Pro Bowl, and the Pro Bowl's stupid.
and they're not in England, so
So
yeah.
let's talk about baseball voting again.
Yes, it's open ballot season for the National
It's
Baseball
rabbit
Hall of
season?
Fame. No, it's duck season.
Fire!
Yeah. I
Anyway,
missed. Yeah. Anyway, it's ballots have been sent out for the 2021 Hall of Fame class. At least the guys that are going to be in the voting committee. Voting. I do not believe the Veterans Committee normally meets during the winter meetings. We'll see what happens with that, given the fact that the winter meetings will not be in the same form as they are. And so far, there is the good old Baseball Hall of Fame vote tracker is keeping track, and we have the results in of 0.8% of ballots.
that's a lot.
Which of we know, Kurt Schilling is the only guy who has 100% on all three ballots. That we'll see how long that lasts. Scott Rowland is the only other person to. Well, Scott Rowland and Omar Vizquel are the only other. My eyes are playing tricks on me. There are four guys that actually have two votes: Scott Rowland, Omar Vizquel, Andrew Jones, and Bobby Abreu. Other notable things about this ballot. Some of the first namers we already talked about: Andrew Jones and Bobby Abreu, but other guys: Torrey Hunter, Dan Herron, Nick Swisher, Aramis Ramirez, Michael Kadire, AJ Burnett, Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Burley, and LaTroy Hawkins, and did I say Shane Victorino?
You did not, but now you did.
Yes, I did now. And also the other notable thing about this is the ninth year for a couple of well maligned players. That would be Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, and Barry Bonds. It's also well, four if you count Sammy Sosa, but Sosa has not garnered anywhere near the traction that the other three have.
It's a shame.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you save baseball. You have to fall on your sword.
I'm looking on Baseball Reference, and it's like saying the Bill James Hall of Fame monitor, and saying 100 is likely, and you have Roger Clemens with a 332, Bonds with the 340, Manny Ramirez with a 226, and Sammy Sosa with a 202. Those are clearly well over the 100.
Yeah. Well, that tells you it's other stuff keeping them, and we know what with each of them. Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and Manny Ramirez for their links to steroids.
Well, speaking of that, the biggest bombshell is coming up, but
we'll get to that. Kurt Schilling has been, just to say polarizing is a good way to put it, of his post-player career.
He's been our missing political bro.
Yes, he's in spirit. And then Sammy Sosa corked the bat, and that's about all that his votes went to. But notably, Schilling's, Clemens, and Bonds were the top three ballot getters last year that did not get in. Barry Bonds and Clemens got about 61% each, and Kurt Schilling fell just a few votes shy of getting in with 70% of the ballot. So, do you think that any of these three will get in this year?
I don't know. It depends on how many Democrats are voting, because Schilling is quite Republican, and they might still be salty. So, depending on what he says these next couple weeks with all the crazy politics that are going on, Schilling may get votes. He may not.
I mean, I see, regardless of that the momentum's is finally swinging on him. That the ballot is about the clearest it's been in several years, which is why those three got so many votes. That the only other guy over 50% last year was Omar Vizquel. Scott Rowland was next with 35% in his fourth year.
But
So-
it's still only the fourth year, so
Yeah,
there's
but
still plenty of time.
importantly, this is if any of these three are going to get in, it is this year. Next year, we have a very crowded field. Notably, we have David Ortiz, Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, and Jimmy Rollins all hitting the ballot. Those four.
Well,
are
I don't know about A-Rod. Like, obviously,
Well,
his numbers
A-Rod-
speak for themselves, but he's in that Barry Bonds, Clemens sort of category.
But between all four of them, they're going to steal vote slots, multiple vote slots away that those three badly need if they want to get into the Hall of Fame on the ballots and not have to wait for a Veterans Committee to pick them up years down the line if they ever do.
Yeah. I think out of any of those guys coming up, Teixeira has a decent shot for first ballot. I don't know if he'll get it.
I think
mostly
Ortiz-
because of his offensive, because of the shift, sort of killed him when he came over to the Yankees after his first or second year. But his defense was still there.
Yeah, I see him as a Hall of Famer, not a first ballot. Ortiz probably has the best shot among those four next year to be on 75% of the ballot.
Yeah.
So that's
well, it also comes down to him basically only being a DH, and I mean he still hit.
And there were rumors of performance enhancing drugs that never really got answered clearly. But that being said, that he's kind of so beloved with Boston and
I mean
company that
even
there
as a
might be
Yankees
pass.
fan, I like Big Papi.
Yeah, it might be like the Mike Piazza situation where we think you have it, but we can't prove it, so we're not going to penalize you for it.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we have a couple of notable first timers that could clog the ballot as well. Some ones that stand out to me are Torrey Hunter, who let's face it, he had a tremendous glove with the Twins and the Angels.
He had so many Gold Gloves.
Let's see.
He had quite a few.
9-time Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger, 5-time All-Star. Also, he had 353 home runs over his career and stole almost 200 bases. So wasn't that bad with the bat either.
Yeah, and his bat really only diminished his last year in Minnesota in 240. But other than that, he was fairly consistent. Good run in the early 2010s.
Yeah, Andrew Jones. We have Andrew Jones, who for the first half of his career looked like he would be among those greats we just mentioned with Ortiz and A-Rod and Ramirez. But then after how they say that once you turn 30, your career starts to decline. His fell right off a cliff, and he went from being a perennial MVP candidate to a part-time player. But he still has 434 home runs, 5-time All-Star, and 10-time Gold Glove.
Yeah, I mean, his hitting went down. He didn't really win any Gold Gloves after 30, unless if you count his age 30 season. So I guess technically after 30, but you know what I mean.
This is kind of where you could see a Clayton Kershaw, where you say, all right, he had the one part of his career. Is that enough to override what could have been?
Yeah, I mean he played 17 years, and really he only played 5 years after 30. So for 12 of those years he was pretty solid.
Yeah. His stats with Atlanta, he hit 368 home runs, 1,117 RBIs, and with everyone else, only 27, 44, 54, 66 home runs, and about 150 RBIs.
But he didn't really play for too good of those teams. I mean, LA was good, Texas was
the only team he was
Chicago
really
was
right at the end with the Yankees. That's really was really his last. But in this first half, he was a big reason that the Braves kept going back to the World Series in the late '90s and no, not to the World Series and the playoffs, late '90s and the early aughts.
Yeah.
The last one really of note to me would be
Nick Swisher.
Well, to me, Nick Swisher, but probably Mark Burley, who was part of that forgotten White Sox team that no one ever remembers in '05. 4-time Gold Glove as a pitcher, 5-time All-Star. One of the quickest pitchers you'd ever see on a mound. I actually watched a video where they said in the time that not Edwin Rios, who's the guy on the Dodgers that pitches really, really slowly? That takes forever. Relief pitcher. Well, regardless, the average right now is about 31 seconds a pitch. In that time, Mark Burley has thrown 2 pitches consistently in his career. His overarching stats otherwise aren't that great. A 3.81 ERA, never had more than 165 strikeouts in a single season, 214 wins. But he was a very solid player. Retired early and on top with a 15-8 season with the Blue Jays. But he's probably the most notable pitcher out of that. If I have my druthers, I don't think any of these newcomers are getting in on the first ballot. But I could see Torrey Hunter and maybe Andrew Jones as being Hall of Famers from this class, at least on the voting period. I think guys like Mark Burley could get in on a veterans committee later on, but
yeah, I mean, I still like Jeff Kent. I just always thought he was fairly decent.
Yeah, well, Kent's on his what is he? He's on his
This is gonna be his 8th year.
Oh, his 8th year. Yeah,
he only got 27.5% last year, so I don't think he's gonna make that up, especially with that big roster.
He's gonna have to wait for a veterans committee, unfortunately, like many others. If you had my picks, who was going to get in? This year. I'm going to say Kurt Schilling, and I'm gonna have to say Bonds and Clemens. I think those.
You think they're gonna get enough?
As I said, this is a clear ballot. The only one that might get in is over any of them is Vizcael, who's at 52.5%. I could see him easily making the jump on this cleared ballot.
But you know why Clemens and Bonds will make it this year?
Yeah.
It's 2020.
Oh, yeah, that too. But yeah, as for the rest of them, Scott Rowland at 35%. That's a huge amount of votes to suddenly get get over the 75% threshold.
Gary Sheffield probably not.
No, Sheffield. But I do know Vizcael will definitely be in the Hall of Fame. I believe Scott Rowland will as well.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Wagner.
Years.
Yeah, Wagner should be in. He might have to wait a couple more. Yeah, wait a couple more. Helton probably because he has that one team, and as much as I want Andy Pettitte to be in, I don't think he'll.
You think he's gonna stay on the ballot?
He'll be a hanger, but it won't be by much.
I really I know he was linked to the HGH to supposedly get over his elbow injury.
Well, it's also that he would have the highest ERA out of any starting pitcher in the Hall of Fame if voted in.
Yeah, I mean there's that, but he also has that track record of the postseason success.
Yeah.
Which is something up until this year, guys like Clayton Kershaw didn't have.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see Pettitte as eventual veterans committee pick.
Yeah.
Just with 250 wins, the postseason pedigree, that the stare.
Yeah.
He'll get in eventually, just not on a ballot.
No, but he will. Nick Swisher, I don't think is going to get the required votes to stay
No,
on.
love him as a player.
As much as the personality and everything else, he's not going to stay on.
Yeah, I love him. I think every team should have 9 Nick Swisher types on their roster, and they get to the World Series every time. But
I mean, the Yankees were treated real nice when we had Didi. It was sort of like our own little next version of Nick Swisher with all the positivity.
Yeah, you need that prankster type to keep the clubhouse loose. I think the Yankees at the moment are kind of were missing that last year. They didn't really have someone like Didi to keep or Swisher to keep everyone loose. Hopefully, there are a couple guys on the free agent market that could have it. On the trade market too, if you go after Lindor.
Yeah.
But that'll be
because Lindor is Mr. Smiles.
Yeah.
I guess sort of to tie this all back to baseball.
Well, this was still baseball. I was going to say, this
ballot.
was all baseball.
Yeah.
When did we get off baseball?
Sorry, I meant to say ballot, wrong B word.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk about someone who didn't, or who probably won't make the Hall of Fame now. If you want to tackle that.
Yeah, and also ties into going after a personal guy that can help with a roster, and that is Robinson Cano, who on, was it yesterday?
Yep.
Got slapped with a second suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. He will be suspended for 162 games, not one full season, 162 games. So if the virus shaves some games off the schedule this season,
has to miss.
He has to miss some more in 2022.
No. So how does that work? Like, we saw like when D. Gordon missed or whatever, and he came back for Seattle. If Seattle had made the playoffs, he wouldn't have been allowed to play.
Yeah.
If games get shaved off for this upcoming season, and then it goes to the following season, does he miss the playoffs then?
If it's a low amount, I could see them working a deal where they say, "Hey, I'm suspended for like 5 games. You're really going to penalize me for 5 games?" But if it's like a good chunk, like if we're facing a 100-game season, say, then he'll probably be it. Also notably, speaking of that, the 162 games also means that he will not be eligible for the playoffs in 2021.
Yes.
But most notably, and this is why the Mets fans are actually rather
happy
pleased,
about this.
his $24 million salary. For
$20 million of it.
Yeah, $20 million, and since 3.75 is paid by the Mariners, is now forfeit, meaning that's $20 million that the Mets can now spend.
Well, Steve Cohen just sneezes that out every morning. So.
Yeah.
That doesn't really matter to him.
No.
He's still going to spend anyway. But it frees up a lot of space. You could move like guys like Jeff McNeil over to second base.
You could go after Lindor and move Andres Jimenez to
third.
Second base. No, third base is
McNeil?
JD Martinez has kind of solidified himself there.
Yeah.
But even if they do nothing, you move McNeil over to second base. You put, assuming there's no DH next season, you put Dominic Smith out in left field. But suddenly we've been hearing like they've been connected to Lindor. They've been in communication with Marcell Ozuna's camp.
Did they go after Justin Turner?
Probably not needed, but they now have a full-time slot batting spot available, and they have $20 million to spend it on.
So
Mets fans are actually happy. As for me, it's a shame. I know I had a friend who said the last several years that that the Yankees in the mid 2010s were very much hurt by the absence of Robinson Cano. I do agree with it, and that 2015 they probably would have eked past the Astros with Robinson Cano. In 2016 they would have made the playoffs with his MVP performance. But when you look down the side effects on that, you would not have. Maybe they don't go after Gleyber Torres because they say we have Robinson Cano for the next 8
Yep.
seasons, and then when he's suspended in 2018 and now 2021, that combine that with other immovable objects on the roster, and suddenly it becomes a lot better. They say, you know what? It's good that the Yankee memories of Cano are not tarnished by steroids.
He helped
He-
us get that World Series in
Yeah.
09.
He might have taken it with steroids, but at least his Yankee legacy at the moment is not tarnished.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because perennial MVP, top 3 in the MVP for several years. Silver Slugger, Gold Glover, was the best baseball player in the major leagues for for a good stretch of years, which is
Yeah.
saying something when that
Yeah.
time overlaps with Mike Trout.
I mean, I played second base as a kid, so Matsui was always my favorite Yankee. But for a while, I was rocking a Cano T-shirt because I played second base, and I actually started throwing the ball like him by just sidearming it.
Yeah, and you got in trouble with
Yeah.
all that from your coach, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, well, mostly because I'd also release it like way too early. But like it was just like he was just like so smooth and like it was just like it was like yeah whatever. Although he did get called lazy early on in his career. I don't think he was sent down, but he was like benched for a little bit.
Well, that was always the knock, that he was so good
Yeah.
with the glove that
Yeah.
he took his time a lot. So and that's probably what cost him a few Gold Gloves
Yeah.
over the years. Just the fact that it was so effortless that everyone thought he was dull.
And he had such a smooth swing too.
Yeah, I mean even without this year he had 10 home runs and 316 batting average. That was his best numbers since, well, minus the home runs. That's a shortened season,
Yeah.
but those are his best numbers really since that Mariners season in 2016 when he hit 39 with a 298, and that's also his actually that 316. I know it's a shortened season, but that's his highest average since 2010 when he hit 319 and was third in the MVP voting behind Hamilton and Cabrera
Yeah.
in what was a very tight MVP race as I look it up.
Yeah. And he also like basically played basically every game every season.
Yeah,
He never had a complete season, but
about
he had
technically
150.
Technically, 2009, the Yankees didn't play one game.
Yeah.
Because of Arena, but look at it, 160, 150 from 2007 until his first season with the Mariners. He missed, let's see, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 games in what is a 7-year stretch. And then even with the Mariners, those first 3 years, 157, 156, 161, then 150, and then the steroids kicked in. That kind of ended that remarkable consistency.
So it's just a real shame that something like this happens to a player you thought was easily Hall of Fame bound, and it was leaked out years ago that he was just hanging around the wrong guys, but it's just
A-Rod
crazy
and,
that
Melton.
he's such a veteran at this point, 16 years under his belt. He's had these awards. He's done well, success. He's already gotten caught once, and like you do it. I don't know if this is intentional or not. I mean, people are creating websites for things all the time. I mean, Amazon's starting its own pharmacy thing now.
Yeah.
I think we just need to create a website where like you can buy specific things and be like, okay, this is NCAA approved, this is MLB approved, this is NFL approved,
Yeah.
and like expand it even to like outsourcing to like you see those like delivery boxes for like meal prepping and stuff like that. You can even like send that stuff out there at this point.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like $1 billion idea.
Yeah. So how do you police that stuff?
Well, that's the thing. You get the list of like what everything is and what's approved, what's not approved, and then you just sort of put it on this all-in-one website. You have the tab. It's like, all right, who are we playing for? All right, women's softball, Division II, NCAA. Okay, what are we allowed to have here? Okay, these are approved products. Okay, good.
One last thing about Cano. This most likely puts the kibosh on Cano reaching 3,000 hits. He ended this season with 24. That 375 hits in 3 years was doable, and 2 at age 39 and 40 is nigh impossible.
Yeah.
He would have to hang on for a few more years, and considering his age and now injury and performance enhancing checkered career, most teams probably wouldn't want to do that for what would be his age.
He'd come close, but he's gonna fall short if he plays 2 more years.
Yeah, and
because I think he only has 1 more year left after his suspension, right, on his deal.
No, he's under contract through 2023. So, and also remember that we have the rumors of a strike after next season as well. So that would cut into time as well. But so between the pandemic, the steroids, and a possible strike, Cano cost himself a shot at being in the 3,000 club.
I'm looking on Baseball Reference, and they have his projections for 2021. He said he's going to get 302 at bats, 80 hits.
Yeah, and
that's all going to be zeros.
And one of his lowest career batting averages. Yet that is now 0. Speaking of what's going to be 0 soon, have you seen the exodus out of Houston?
Maybe.
It involves a rocket ship, maybe some netting.
With James Harden.
Yeah, James Harden.
I thought you were talking about DeAndre Hopkins leaving Texas and having himself a time in Arizona. But yeah, let's talk about James Harden.
Yeah, so James Harden, we learned over the last week turned down a contract extension and was seeking a trade out of Houston.
Yeah, that contract extension was going to pay him like $50 million a year. So like,
yeah,
you must really not like your situation to turn down $50 million a year to just dribble a ball.
But what is notable about that situation is what exactly, and in the last few days, it has turned out the reason that he wants a contract trade is he does not want to play under the Rockets' owner Tim Fertitta. Excuse me if I butcher that. Fertitta purchased the Rockets in 2017, so that was, I think, before James Harden came to the team. Notably, he is a longtime donor to the Republican Party and is a ardent supporter of current president, probably not future president, Donald Trump. As we all know, that Black Lives Matter and Donald Trump himself were very much flash pans for all the 4 major pro sports. But 3 of the major pro sports, and hockey kind of seemed to go along with it.
Yeah, they just didn't want to seem like the elitist, really smart white guys.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the nice Canadians that say, "Oh, sorry, but
sorry,
we can't. Sorry, but we can't do it." Anyway, but he wants out of Houston because of political views, and I think this is the first time, at least the first time in a while, but definitely the first time in recent history that a political difference has actually led to the request of a trade, especially for something as difference between an owner and a player who, yes, you don't always see eye to eye, but the owner isn't going to force you to donate to a party or go to an event supporting that party. And it's also not. He's also not the only players to have requested a trade in the recent times. I just had this up. Where did it go? Sports. No, I had up with Well, I'll let you talk as I figure this out. What do you think of
Yeah.
all this with Harden?
Well, Harden sort of falls into that category I was talking about last week a little bit with Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook. These guys are sort of like bouncing around, and they're like sort of larger than life sort of players. They're all very good players. Harden's a former MVP, Westbrook a former MVP, Chris Paul, multiple time All Star, and it it's shaken up. I mean, no matter who Harden's been paired up with, it just hasn't seemed to work. I didn't think Harden and Westbrook would work well. I mean, they worked in Oklahoma when they were on the Thunder together in their early years, when Oklahoma drafted Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, I believe, back to back to back years.
Yeah.
And you don't get that good lottery picks in a row like that. That's just crazy and unheard of. But Harden was basically traded shortly after he arrived, and he sort of thrives being the leader. He had some guys helping him, but it just nothing clicked. He just sort of like runs his own offense. Respect the beard, but his teams just don't seem to get it done, even though he can rattle off basically 40 points a game.
Yeah.
Him and Russell Westbrook I just don't think their egos connected as well. There's talks he wants to go to the Nets, where Kevin Durant, his former Oklahoma teammate, is. And we saw Durant. He worked really well with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, which Klay Thompson he's done for the year again after hurting his Achilles, rehabbing from his ACL injury that made him miss all of last year. So he's going to be working. So Kevin Durant's been able to work with high-profile guys before. They're going to be working with Kyrie Irving, who's a little bit of a headache, to put it like very nice, I guess. So I don't know how that'll all sort of work out, if he even gets to go to the Nets.
Yeah, well,
Westbrook still
that's
doesn't seem happy. Maybe he's trying to go to the Knicks, who cleared $40 million in cap space.
yeah. Well, here's the problem that the Rockets don't have to move Harden or Westbrook
No.
or both.
No.
All of them are Westbrook just came, if I'm not correct. Westbrook just came over to the Rockets.
Yeah, that was last year was his first year.
Yeah, and they're both under contract through the 2022-2023 season.
Yeah.
A combined almost $95 million in that final year.
Mm.
So they might look to move one just to shed some payroll, but if the right offer doesn't come out of the way that Fertitta doesn't have to move any of them, and yet they'll sulk and they could try self-sabotaging, but self-sabotaging also means that teams aren't going to pick you up.
Yeah. One of the things that the NBA is going to be doing, and I mean, if both or even one of the players stick, the Rockets should make the playoffs easily, but it'll be even easier because with the bubble this past year, they had the number 9 team get to play the number 8 team for the last playoff spot. But they're going to expand it to the 10th team, so the 9 and 10 team will duke it out and then play the number 8 team to then
So
sort of fight
basically,
for that.
like the MLB wild card, the original
Yeah.
wild card round, not what they had in 2020.
Yeah, so, but it's like an extra step of a wild card because you only play, like, I don't know, I think it's too much of a headache. I mean, even some of these times, those 8 seeds, I mean, I said it during lockdown right before, like, they were still playing for some games. I mean, some of those 7, 8, 9 seeds, they don't even belong to be in the discussion. I know for a while the West was pretty loaded, so the top 6 seeds were like really close. I think even last year, the year before, the 1 through 6 seeds were all like separated, or maybe it was like 2 through 6. They're like all separated by like maybe like 3 games, which is nothing.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be the NFL and the tank division. That is the Giants, the
Yeah.
Eagles, the Cowboys.
Giants are like ruining it now.
The
They've won 2 in a row, and now they're like a half game back of like first place.
Yeah, but none of those teams are above 500.
Yeah.
Also, correction. Westbrook can actually opt out of the 2022-2023 season of his contract. He holds a player option, so he could be out sooner than Harden.
Yeah,
but
but that's
again,
still.
Again, the Rockets are in the driver's seat. They can say, all right, we want to trade him to get rid of this, but if you're not going to give us a serious offer, we're just going to hold on to him.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to speak of players opting out, Gordon Hayward of the Boston Celtics just opted out, declining his $34.2 million player option with the Celtics, and I don't think he's coming back. As much as he likes his old college coach Brad Stevens, he just wasn't really a fit with the Celtics. He got hurt his couple minutes into his first game with the Celtics 2 years ago. He rehabbed, he came back, and it took him a while to sort of find his groove, and it just didn't seem to work. He just wasn't the player he was. The Celtics got 2 really good draft picks, taking Aaron Nesmith, number 14, and later on at I think number 26 they took Peyton Pritchard. And both of these guys are supposedly really young, really good perimeter shooters. So I'm looking forward to this. Nesmith being one of the top guys. I think he was like finishing for like he was like SEC Player of the Year or something like that. But it's kind of hard to judge some of these players. Even the guys who took who had the number 1 pick. I think it was Anthony Edwards. He only played like 3 games or something this year. So it was kind of hard to judge on the NBA players because they didn't really get to play or finish that senior year. So you didn't get to see anything in March Madness where like you're on center stage.
Yeah. One thing that sorry to change the subject, but some free agent news from MLB just came down the line that DJ LeMahieu, while he's considering all offers, that his desire is to stay close to New York City. So if you look at the free agent the team landscapes and the free agent landscape, that means that LeMahieu's decision would come down to the Yankees, who obviously want him back, the Blue Jays, who could shuffle around their star-studded infield to easily make room and provide a consistent at bat. And the Mets, who, as we said, suddenly have a vacancy at second base.
Yeah.
So that's per the New York Post. So that means that any team in the outside of the Northeast is up a creek without a paddle. White Sox are a no. Angels are a no. So it's good comfort for the Yankees knowing that they only have 2 suitors. The bad parts are that one of them is in the city and the other is their up-and-coming division rival.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting where all this plays out because obviously Steve Cohen's the biggest wild card right here because you don't know what money he's going to be throwing around.
If he wants to acquire a player, he will acquire that player.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. Like I said, I don't think he's going to give Trevor Bauer $40 million a year, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he throws that kind of money. If he wants a World Series right now, right away, he's going to do it. He's going to buy it.
If he wants a World Series now, what he needs to do is go after Lindor because yes, DJ LeMahieu is great, but what would be even better, they easily have people who they already can slot into second base. What they don't have is a consistent shortstop, and they haven't had that for the last several years. Lindor and then a sign and trade would do that.
Yeah.
Bauer might be a bit pricey, but But what might not be is if they go after guys like Paxton or Tanaka or other mid-tier free agents that are on the market. And the third thing, get a better catcher. Realmuto is obviously the top of that class, but even
he seems to want to.
Even a James McCann will bring a lot of improvement without sacrificing too much bat and the catching position.
Yeah. So Steve Cohen wants a World Series first year. He's gonna go do that.
He wants He wants to be in the playoffs every year. He doesn't want to see the Mets falling short like the last 2 years.
What's kind of, I don't know if it's shocking news or it was about time. But the Cubs, was it CEO? Epstein.
Yes.
Epstein. He has stepped down.
Which for some Cubs fans has been a year overdue. That a lot of people saw him as the actual problem for the roster construction that led to them missing the playoffs in 2019. Not Joe Madden, who, as always happens, the manager always is the first head to roll.
Yep.
And then also this year, where while the pitching group took a tremendous step forward, especially Yu Darvish, the batters fell completely flat. That you have Chris Davis going from MVP candidate to potential Chris Bryant, excuse me, potential non-tender candidate. Who the funny thing is, if he's non-tendered, remember his service time. They famously took him up one day after they got an extra year of control. If they non-tender him, Bryant's going to be there laughing at the fact that he's at free agency where he originally wanted to, just not in the best of circumstances.
Yeah.
Probably Bryant definitely wants that extra year to reestablish himself and get that and avoid
he went from Rookie of the Year to MVP, World Series champ, and
then, like with the rest of the lineup, the bat disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, you can contribute that to the pandemic a little bit.
Not really with the Cubs. The Cubs are notably the only team that did not have a single case in their entire organization.
No, but I mean, the pandemic season itself, I mean, it was only, a 60-game season?
Yeah.
That's only really a third of the season, just under 2/3 of the season. You've seen guys get hot for the last 100 games or whatever, so that's still a big portion of the season that's missing that they could, all right, let's adjust things, let's come back from the All-Star break, get that rest, and, let's get going. So, yes, there were some red flags, and you could probably look at all the StatCast stuff and
but
all
it's
that
the problem, as I said, going up. Anthony Rizzo, 222 batting average. Javier Baez, 203. Chris Bryant, 206 average. Like the home run, and Bryant notably also only hit 4 home runs in 34 games. He missed some time, but still 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, and it's all around that the best hitter, ironically enough, for the Cubs last year was Jason Hayward.
Oh God.
When was the last time Jason Hayward had a great season?
He had a mediocre season.
I'd lie. Last year he had his best season since joining the Cubs.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that was given a stupidly expensive contract for no reason.
He was a guy that was overvalued, mainly because although he has 5 Gold Gloves to his name, so probably on the strength of his arm more than anything. But again, another guy who some buyer's remorse is definitely on that Cubs team. But anyway, we've been talking for a bit.
I think just the standings for football, Bills and Dolphins are duking it out, one game separating that. Dolphins winning 5 in a row with Tua behind center, taking the charge there. Steelers 9-0, crushing the Bengals. The Bengals just were demolished. Colts, Tennessee, they're tied 6-3 up top. Chiefs still leading it up in the AFC West. The toilet bowl divisions,
the tank
still
divisions.
up for grabs.
Tank division. The Giants are now with 2 wins, including one against the Eagles, are now less than 0.100% percentage away from a playoff spot.
Yeah, no, the Eagles have played one less game.
They also
the
have,
difference in the 2 losses, and then they also have the tie as well.
Yeah, they have the tie, which which doesn't really factor into any other division because that tie was against the Bungles.
Yep.
The NFC.
What's interesting though is the Giants. All 3 of their wins comes in their division. So you play 2 games against everyone else. So the Giants have finished with at worst a 500 record in their division. If they win one more, they'll go 4-2.
And given that
that
how,
could be the difference.
Yeah, that could be all that is. The NFC North, the Bears are in a free fall right now.
Yeah, I think they just lost Nick Foles after taking a massive crunch.
Yeah.
On Monday Night Football.
Who
also took a massive crunch was Drew Brees of the Saints.
But they
broken ribs, punctured lung, or collapsed lung. So he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. So that might be reason for Tampa Bay to swoop by and take that division while he's trying to recover.
And the Falcons are also have a winning streak going on. They might finish 500 after that disastrous start.
Yeah,
and then
Arizona Cardinals lead the NFC West as the Seahawks are in a 2-game losing streak.
Did you see that throw by Kyler Murray to win the game?
Kyler Murray is just... I wasn't sure about him. I forget which baseball team drafted him.
The A's.
The A's.
And
I wasn't sure if he made a mistake or not, but...
No, he did not make a mistake.
He is not making a mistake right now. He's looking like Russell Wilson 2.0.
The only ones who made that mistake were the A's for losing a first-round draft pick over him.
Yeah.
But can we say the NFC West is probably the best division in the NFL right now? You have the Cardinals 6-3, the Rams 6-3, the Seahawks after losing 2 are 6-3, and even though the 49ers are on a 3-game losing streak and a 4-6, they were up there for a while. That part of that losing streak is
all their players.
Yeah, their losing streak is because everyone is dead.
Yeah, they might be 4-6, but they have a +4 differential.
Yeah.
Which is something the Jets can't say they have because the Jets are a -147.
Yeah, and the Jets still can't even say they have a win.
Yeah, and with that throw by Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins, who was traded from the Texans, because of that catch, it earned him in the 99 club in Madden. So he's only one of a handful of players now that's in the current 99 club, and hopefully I'll get to play that in about a month's time, as I signed up for Xbox's Game Pass, not sponsored, which now will include EA Play, so I'll get to play Madden, like a new game of Madden for the first time since Brett Favre was on the cover when he originally retired from the Packers and right before he joined the Jets. It was like that transition period there, so he's still in his Packers uniform, but like after he signed with the Jets, they were like, oh yeah, you can update the game, but I had it on the DS.
You can update it DS.
So yeah, I couldn't really update the DS Lite. And what's bad though is I've played so many years on Madden on my DS because I had the 07 and then the 09 one. I've had it where I've had rookies retire. That's how many seasons I've played. So my muscle memory is with the Nintendo layout with A on the right, B on the bottom, X on top, Y on the left. But Xbox switches the X and Y, A and B. So I'm going to have to remap my controller.
You poor soul. We better end this episode so you can mentally prepare for this.
Yeah, I got to get ready for December. But yeah, so it's been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll have some more information next week for y'all.
Also shout out to Drew Smiley for being the first of MLB Trade Rumors' top 50 free agents to come off the board, signing off with the Braves this past week. So that's 1 down, 49 to go.
Oh, also Antonio Brown's a complete lunatic. He trashed a hotel and some cameras or whatever, or whatever it was.
We already knew he was.
And they're just sort of like, oh yeah, we're not going to charge him because we're afraid of him, and it's like
that's football. That's football.
I blame it on the hit he got against the Bengals in the playoffs that year.
Yeah.
After that, he hasn't been the same.
That's football.
But yeah,
but
so
we'll talk
CTE
about
and everything else.
We'll talk about all that next time. Stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. I think at this point, wash your hands and wear a mask is universal. So just stay safe out there.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Take care. Bye.